about reform, one thing that we always have to remember in the midst of any reform is to be true to the tradition. All right? We must preserve the tradition. But part of the reform is to decide and rethink and rediscover what the actual tradition is. Because in many cases, all right, tradition can be clouded by custom, and they're not necessarily the same thing. And so many people hold on to the customs, and if you change the customs, which obviously vary historically, geographically, and so on, they think that you're somehow changing the tradition. And you're really not. All right? There's a man named Gustav Mahler who had a wonderful definition of tradition, and I think it hits the point. He said, "Tradition is not the worship of ashes, but the preservation of the fire."
Mm-hmm. Choose life, just like Moses tells us at the end. Choose life. Don't attach yourself to the dead. And in the New Testament, when was Jesus saying, "Let the dead bury the dead"?
That's right.
Yeah. So let the dead be dead, and we also say in Psalm, it's not those who die, the dead who praise God. Right. It's the living.
Yeah. So again, one of the things I found fascinating in going back over these documents, and is how familiar, and I know for some people out there, this is not going to sound that enticing, but I was just reading some of the things that John the 23rd spoke when the council started. And it reminds me of how much he is like our present Pope, Pope Francis. John the 23rd was this roly-poly northern Italian whom everybody loved. All right? But they thought he was just a roly-poly Italian who was going to hang on and be an interim until he just shocked the world. But he was a healer. He wanted to reach out in relationship to heal. Let me read you a couple of things that he said, which puts me in mind of the attitude of even today. He said, "Divine providence is leading us to a new order of human relations." He had a passion of bringing people together. He was open to and allowed dialogue and was okay with that. So again, you take the historical context. Dialogue was not looked upon very favorably by Catholics. All right? There was always the fear that if you start dialoguing with other people, you would fall into relativism. All right? His openness to change was rooted in his deep faith. That, to me, is an extremely important concept. The deeper your faith, the more comfortable you are with change. All right? It seems like a paradox. But in order to change for the better, you've got to have a deep faith. All right? I mean, if I'm going to change myself on a human level, deep down, I have to have faith that there's something better to move towards. All right? And people of deep faith do not fear change. As a priest once said to me, remember this, in the midst of everything, the crisis you may be going through in religion, fear does not come from God. Fear is not from God. And every once in a while, you have to step back and say, whoa, what is this fear that I'm feeling? But remember that we have a merciful God. He's not a God that induces fear as a means to get people to do things.